Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything movies, TV, comics, and entertainment. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. What is happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He's the co-host. His name is Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
Folks, we have a lot to talk about in the land of movies, TV, comics, and more. You are tuned into the entertainment edition of the ODPH, and we definitely want to keep that conversation going after the show. So, Pad, where do they go?
ODPHpodcast.com.
Right on. You swing on over to the website. You check out the TeePublic store. You check out the Patreon link. Shout out to every ODPH Society patron. $1 tier, $2 a month. You check out the social media links. You check out the blog section. You check out the classified section, which has friends of the show, such as 3FN Podcast, Dragon Master Games, and so many more. You check out the directory, because, Pat, how many providers are we on?
450,000.
Sounds about right to me. The music section, where you hear such great bands as Shout at the Robots, Brian Wolf, Tom Jolu, the list goes on and on and on. Basically, for anything and everything that is the ODPH, you can find it at odphpodcast.com and always on social media. Remember, use the hashtag ODPHpod. Kicking off this edition of the show, we have to recap an excellent episode on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Of a series that we have grown quite fond of, and so has the rest of pop culture, and that is Star Wars: The Mandalorian. Pedro Pascal playing the title role of Din Djarin, the last Mandalorian, or so we all thought, with his sidekick / adopted son, Grogu.
I mean, at this point, yes.
Yeah, we have to kind of just say it is what it is. And their adventures through a galaxy far, far away. Season 3 has lived up to the hype thus far. It's gone in a lot of crazy directions, but it has added somebody to this cast that has absolutely knocked it out of the park, and that is Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan Kryze. She has elevated this show to a whole different level.
Absolutely.
I don't think anybody can argue that. So, if you are new to the ODPH, first and foremost, thank you for checking us out. Drop a 5-star review on your favorite podcast player. What we'd like to do is do a spoiler-free statement about the episode we're talking about. So, we don't want to ruin anything for you. So, if you haven't seen it yet, you're not like, oh my God, they're going to talk about it. I can't listen. No, simple. We put the liner notes stamp in there that you know when to duck out. We also give you a countdown here. So we go out of our way to make sure we don't ruin anything for you. But if you have seen the episode and you want to talk spoilers, stay through the countdown because we go deep diving like nobody else. So, Pad, that said, give me your spoiler-free statement of the latest episode of The Mandalorian entitled Chapter 22, Guns for Hire.
This episode was awesome. Fulfilling, like, kind of maybe a little bit of a filler. You know, not a whole lot going on in terms of, like, you know, advancing the story and uniting the forces and saving the galaxy. This episode was awesome. You know, from start to finish. I loved everything about it. The action was incredible. The story was awesome. Christ almighty, the cameo appearances. Yeah. Holy fuck, I was not expecting any of this. You know, but the episode was great.
I was blown away at the amount of cameos that were here. But we have to remember this, and I know we mentioned this on past episodes. I even kind of touched upon it a little bit at the intro.
Right.
This show has crossed over into pop culture.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of people joining the show that we don't think would be Star Wars fans.
Right.
But it shows how much the fandom has grown across the pop culture audience. That you're getting people on the show that you would not necessarily think are really into Star Wars, but yet here they are. And obviously this show has been a monster hit. That's another reason why people come on. But you can definitely see with this episode, people were really embracing their fandom with this show.
Yeah.
And this episode in particular. So it definitely had that vibe to it. It started out for me, though, as a little bit of filler. I'm not going to lie. I was not sure where they were going with this, but by the time we got to the end, oh, man, I was on the edge of my seat, and I was marking out. I was so happy with this conclusion. So you definitely want to make sure you check it out. But now, that being said, it is spoiler talk time. So in 3, 2, 1, Pad, talk to me.
Like I said, the episode was great. You know, between the cameos from the folks who showed up, it was absolutely nuts. The action was incredible, and I'm really excited to see where things go from here.
It was a very interesting start to this episode. I will say that. But seeing the cameos from Jack Black, Lizzo, and Christopher Lloyd, of all people, absolutely blew me away. And I was super excited to see all of them on screen. And to see where they dived into the mythos of Star Wars here. This did kind of start, like I say, a little bit like a filler episode for a degree.
Yeah.
But it did make sense for where they were going, because by the time we got to that end, oh, man. That was, I don't like to use the word game changer because I think that it gets thrown around a lot.
Maybe.
And maybe I've been on too much wrestling Twitter this week, so I don't like to hear about that. But it really felt like there was a shift in where we're going with the story, with only 2 episodes left after this, too. We have to remember that.
Yeah.
But a very solid episode. As we start out, the trio of Din Djarin, Bo-Katan, and Grogu are heading to the planet Plazar 15.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why are they heading there, Pat?
They are looking for the crew that used to work or be commanded by Bo-Katan, because they're trying to unite all of Mandalore and all the remaining Mandalorians.
Yeah, because where this show starts, you see those former Mandalorian soldiers, I guess we can call them,
Yeah.
are on a mercenary mission.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of throws you off at the beginning because you're not sure what's going on.
Right.
But when you see Simon Casadenas as X-Wolves and Mercedes Varnado, who is Sasha Banks from the WWE fame, Mercedes Moné from New Japan Pro Wrestling, back as Koska Reeves, you know what they're up to.
Right.
And this is something that they've touched upon in past episodes, that they've now started taking mercenary work because Bo-Katan does not have the Darksaber,
Right.
which is the uniting force of all Mandalorians.
Right.
So now you have soldiers for hire doing dirty deeds done dirt cheap.
Yeah, and here I was at the start of the episode, thought they were going to answer the question from the cliffhanger at the end of the last episode. Was like, all right, who attacked the Imperial, or who attacked the shuttle and sprung Moff Gideon? Because you end on that cliffhanger, and then you immediately start with this crew stopping some sort of diplomatic mission going on or whatever, and they're like, oh, we had no idea there was because they're in a Star Destroyer, or an Imperial class shuttle of some sort, whatever the hell it is, and they're like, oh, we had no idea there's a warlord in this area. Well, I'm not a warlord, but we still got to get paid, this, that, I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna get interesting.
Yeah, so when you see the trio show up on Plazir 15, they can't exactly go run around the planet.
No,
they have to check in. And they check into the rulers of said planet, and that is Captain Bombardier and the Duchess, played by Jack Black and Lizzo, as we previously said. So they do go to this royal gala, if you will, like a royal dinner.
It's a very extravagant planet.
Yes, and they are more than happy to see the traveling heroes.
Yeah.
Which I thought they were almost telegraphing something at first. Like, you saw, Jack Black has always played an animated character in real life. That's just him.
Yes.
And Lizzo is always high energy wherever we see her. So to see them really, act over the top, and I say, this is not a bad thing, this is not a complaint, but I was like, okay, I think they might be telegraphing, a setup.
They're selling hard, because you think back to a couple episodes prior, episode 1 or 2, whatever it was, where Grief Karga essentially, tried to sell Mando on, hey, I need you to be the sheriff of this planet, essentially. And he's like, you know what, I can't, I got all this other stuff I got to do. And he's like, hey, no big deal, no problem, no issues, no qualms. Hey, fine, you do you. If we ever need any help, I'm a call away. And in this instance, Jack Black and Lizzo almost wouldn't take no for an answer.
Yeah. It was a weird vibe, but they were just more than happy. But they were saying, well, before you go on our planet and do your business, you have to do something for us.
Right.
And Pad, what was that?
So there were a bunch of malfunctioning Imperial and Separatist, from the prequel era and Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Droids malfunctioning, which I didn't realize there were still droids from the Clone Wars operating at this time.
That was a wild statement.
Yeah, so they're malfunctioning, and, some of them are malfunctioning and killing people. So they need the Mandalorians to, Bo-Katan and Mando to go stop these droids, because it's a part of this planet's religion, culture, laws, whatever it is, that they're not armed. They can't be armed. And they can have some sort of security force, but that security force can't be armed. But the way they've got their set up and done in such a way where if it's a part of your religion or your belief system, You're more than welcome to use the guns on your weapons on our planets. And Jack Black looks at Mando and goes, your weapons are a very big part of your culture, are they not? And he goes, yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah, it was a weird setup, but it makes sense for Star Wars.
It made sense because I'm like, okay, they don't believe in the use of weapons, but the people who do are fine. They need your help. Oh, okay, I see. I buy the setup of this.
So then you see the trio go through the city.
Yeah,
and they do run into almost like an assembly line of droids moving stuff.
Yeah,
and Bo-Katan, who, like I say, I think it's pretty safe to establish now has been the MVP of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Senses what's going on.
Right.
And she is trying to draw out the malfunctioning droids.
She's trying to be a little subtle.
Yeah, and how is she doing this?
She's asking questions and she's being a little subterfuge and poking around, and because she's used to this. She's used to working in the shadows and working from behind and not being so overt. Mandalorian, not so much.
No. But once Bo starts kicking the droids and trying to see like, are they really programmed right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're kind of tipping their hand a little bit of what they're doing because once they find the defective one, things change in a heartbeat.
Yep.
We have this great action sequence after it has been drawn out of the droid running. And I didn't mind the CGI. Like, I heard a couple complaints online about it. I'm like, it was fine. Like, I don't think it was anything distracting.
The only CGI I noticed there was issue with was like the security camera stuff.
Yeah, that was a little off.
That was the only thing I noticed that was off.
But I'm not complaining about that. Like, I don't think there was anything that took me out of this episode.
No.
But I did love the action sequence where they're running, chasing it, and you do see when they finally subdue it, it goes into an instant crime scene.
Yeah.
And Bo-Katan takes something off the droid that she probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But Bo-Katan is going to do whatever Bo-Katan wants. It's Kay Sackhoff's world. We all live in it.
Yes.
And it's almost like a business card, so to speak.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Or just some sort of like thing you get for visiting a restaurant or something.
Yes. And what is this restaurant they're going to, Pad, so to speak?
It's a droid bar titled The Resistor.
Yeah, so it's kind of a little wild they have this set up on Plaisir 15.
Again, something I don't think we've ever seen in Star Wars.
I can't remember seeing one like this. No, I legit was like, this is supposed to be like the cantina?
Yeah.
But this is strictly for droids. So you see them at the Resistor, and like I say, the pair walk in the bar, because Grogu, I don't think Grogu walked in there.
Grogu stayed behind with Jack Black and Lizzo.
Yeah, at this stage, he kind of separates from them. So you see the pair now is going in and kind of trying to get some information out of the bartender. So it's almost like a shakedown, if you will.
And the bartender is real tight-lipped.
Yeah.
Metaphorically speaking.
But they do wind up getting some information, though.
Mm-hmm.
And then we find out the big thing is, well, the droids are not malfunctioning on their own.
No.
Somebody's behind it. Are they not, Pad?
Yeah, so they find out they're being sabotaged through nanodroids, because once they coerce the information out of the bartender, they discover, there's code in here, in this drink, quote unquote, that the droids use. And it's a certain type of code that has a source point. And if we follow the source point, we can see where it came from. But the thing they mentioned is, these droids aren't smuggled in here. They're Techno Union. Which I'm like, there's a callback.
Yeah, I was going to say, you want to break that down a little bit?
Yeah, so the Techno Union was one of the droid builders the Separatists used in the Clone Wars. They helped build the battle droids and the super battle droids and the droidicas. Basically anything used by Count Dooku's forces, Grievous's forces. They were one of the ones, along with the Geonosians and other ones. They were one of the ones. If you remember in Attack of the Clones, and some of you, I know I'm touching a raw subject here, but if you remember in Attack of the Clones, where you got the guy who starts talking and he goes, his voice gets all garbled and he goes, the Techno Union is going to pledge our work to you. One of those guys. So this is, again, callback for 30, 40, whatever many years ago. So the source code's from there, and they go, well, we got to figure out who's behind this sabotage.
Yes. And they do find out that it is the head of the Plaisir 15 security. Mm-hmm. And that is Commissioner Helgat, played by the one and only Christopher Lloyd.
Surprised he didn't go 88 miles an hour.
Oh, my God. I was waiting for something like that to happen. And he is like trying to downplay him a little bit. Like he's been kind of throwing him off the entire time.
Yeah, he sent him in completely the wrong direction.
Yeah, which he was trying to do. But, once they start putting the clues together, they come back and confront him. And then sure enough, he breaks.
He starts spilling the beans.
Yeah.
Saying how they're like, and I can't remember if it was Mando or Bo, but they went, "You're a separatist." And he goes, "Well, that's a funny way to say democracy." Or something
that was a cool line. Yes, he did say that.
And I'm like, and then he starts talking about how Dooku was in the right and the separatists had it right, and the Jedi are evil and they should have never killed Dooku. And like calling back stuff I never would have figured we'd have heard in this series,
Mm-hmm.
And as he's monologuing, mind you, he's monologuing in a full room.
Yes.
There's a whole bunch of people here standing here who probably worked with him for years and years and years, given his age, and are probably flabbergasted by what he's saying right now. And I never would have expected this out of the gentleman. So as he's monologuing, as bad guys tend to do, Katie Sackhoff, Bo-Katan, then shoots like an electro bolt at him, knocks him out, drops him to the floor, arrests him.
Yeah, because he's ready to fire.
Oh yeah,
because like he knows that he's losing this one.
Yeah, he's ready to push a button. He's got his finger over a button on the console that will basically activate every droid on the planet and turn them against humans and wipe out all sentient life on the planet.
Yeah, it's a crazy setup. But once again, Bo-Katan, MVP of the season. Takes him out before he can do this.
Yep, while he's talking.
Yeah. So, like I say, Bo-Katan understands the situation. Like, every time we've seen her in this, Mando looks lost.
She understood the assignment.
Exactly. And I love how, like, we had this up on one of our personal Facebook pages about, like, the worst quote you could say about Star Wars.
Yes.
I love Ron from 3FN called it out like this. Mando is just stumbling through this season.
I mean, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
Din Djarin went from being the ultimate badass to now he's playing sidekick.
I'll say dude went like one-on-one with
Moff
Gideon too. He's just kind of going through life.
Yeah, he's just like, well, I'm done. I tap out. I'm good. Bo-Katan is like, nope, this is my show now. And she takes out the commissioner, saves the day, and due to her heroic actions...
Yep.
She's told that she can go talk to the Mandalorian army there.
Yep.
And she pulls up, and the army is not exactly open arms to her.
Well, yeah, you got to figure they left her for a very specific reason. We don't know what reason it was other than she didn't have the Darksaber. I feel like there's got to be more to it than that.
I do, too. I know they didn't touch upon it, but you could definitely tell by Axe's actions.
He was not so thrilled.
Yeah, there's something going on there that we have not even scratched the surface of yet.
No.
Because Bo comes there, and she is pleading the case with Din Djarin.
Yep.
And Axe is in there saying, listen, you don't have the Darksaber. We're out.
Yep.
And Bo-Katan does something, like I say, absolutely perfect writing for her this season. And this episode, she goes, yeah, let's fight about it. And challenges him to a duel.
Yeah. Hand-to-hand, one-on-one combat.
Yeah, great action sequence, too, by the way. Like I say, I love the little stuff they do with this because they tie in a lot of the jetpacks, but they don't go full over the top.
Yes.
Like, that's the thing. It's a very believable fight for Mandalorians.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds kind of a little weird saying, but it's true.
Yeah.
Because both of them are skilled. Both of them are using the right techniques and really elevating the action. So you're seeing this, and you could sense like the feel of life or death here.
Well, so you really think about it. The only fight some fans, if they're just jumping in and watching this season for the first time, they haven't seen anything prior. They haven't seen Book of Boba Fett. They haven't, all they've seen are the movies. The only Mandalorian fight we've seen, because no offense to Boba, in the original trilogies, outside of Return of the Jedi, we don't really see him fight, and that's all for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So the only fight we really see happen with a Mandalorian is with Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones, where he fights Obi-Wan on Camino, and it's jetpack, and it's rocket launcher, and it's the little wrist, wire thing to tie him up in this net. And then he fights Mace Windu where he brings a gun to a lightsaber fight, and he loses his head.
Literally.
Yeah. So we've never really seen a Mandalorian in hand-to-hand combat with somebody who's not a Force user, and this is our first opportunity to see two of them go up against each other.
Yeah, so you can kind of understand the stakes were very high here, and it really carried the emotion. Like I say, when you can tell of how serious the actors are involved in this,
Yeah.
and like I say, they really portray this as stakes were so high. Like, this is life or death. One needs to walk away with this alive. So when you see Bo-Katan get the upper hand, and she had a knife in her wrist, and she pops it, and you can see Axe for the first time knows he's defeated and is not exactly, I'm not going to say he was cowering, but he stepped back, and he did not try pushing any buttons.
Right.
You see Bo gets the upper hand, and he's basically saying, well, you're going to kill me, you're going to paraphrase a bit.
Yeah.
And Bo's like, no, we are stronger united together.
Mm-hmm.
So she lets him up.
Yep.
And then Din Djarin comes in and says about the Darksaber. And
Because Axe is brought up, he's like, well, why should we listen to you? You still don't have the Darksaber.
Right. And Din Djarin says, well, funny story about that.
I'm going to give it to her.
I'm going to give it because this is what happened. When we went to Mandalore, I got defeated. I got captured by a cyborg, a spider cyborg.
Mm-hmm.
Bo had to save me. So technically, she owns the Darksaber.
Well, she had to save me, and to save me, she had to kill the thing that defeated me. So technically, like the rule of succession, you know, she's ruled the Darksaber, and he looks at somebody. I don't remember if it was Axis or somebody else. He
looks at Costa.
He looks at Costa, and he goes, "That logic checks out, right?" Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And they go along with it.
Yeah. Or as we like to call on the show, reasons. But at that moment, Bo-Katan gets the Darksaber back.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, the Holy Grail has been achieved. And she pops that open and is standing there and is basically like, she could have just raised the sword up and been like, it's go time. That is the moment that has been building for her for 6 episodes.
6 episodes.
6
now.
episodes. This is where we've been building. Like, you know, we talk about on wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, finish the story with Cody Rhodes
Right.
and Sami Zayn, and not Dominic Mysterio, who is Mr. 90210, according to one Tom Craven from Off the Cuff Gaming. I had to throw that in there because he's not Mr. 619. You have this moment where it's finally been building, and you see almost the redemption arc with Katie Sackhoff's character. As it closes out, she is now leading this Mandalorian army once again.
Right.
And now rightfully so. Like, there's
Right.
no question, no doubt, no anything disputing this.
Mm-hmm.
And it really has been about her this season.
Right.
And I'm not mad about this one bit. Because, like I say, she's elevated her stock in how her character has just grown into, like, the
Right.
leader. Because, like, for me, I did not know anything about her except for this show.
Sure.
You obviously know.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. Well, having watched Clone Wars many a times. Yeah.
Right. So, like I say, to make that breakthrough to the pop culture audience, it's almost in a weird sense like pro wrestling.
Yeah.
In a very awkward sense.
Yeah.
But, I mean, am I wrong?
No, you're not. No, not at all.
So, in this situation, now what's the payoff going to be? I think all signs point to her and Moff Gideon facing off.
Oh, I guarantee you.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah.
So, where we go from here, I mean, honestly, that's the only thing I can see. But as far as the Mando story with Grogu, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, we literally got 2 episodes left.
Yeah.
We do know that Dave Filoni is directing or writing.
He's writing the next episode with Favreau.
Right. So we know that chances are, if we want to do locks and leap style, Ahsoka is going to be on the show.
Could be Ahsoka. Could be Sabine Wren or some of the other characters that are going to show up in the Ahsoka series.
Right.
Because the Ahsoka series is going to be taking place in this same time frame.
Yeah. So I imagine
that's
where we're going to set it up.
Could be.
But it's really anybody's guess. But if you think about it like this, Mando's story can plug and play anywhere right now.
Right.
He doesn't need anything like a linear journey.
Right.
He can just kind of go to different planets and stay out of the Empire's way. Or if he's going to go back to Greef Karga and set up shop, that would make sense too. But he has a wide open playbook. Bo-Katan's story now starts chapter 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the biggest payoff for fans moving forward, because we do know Star Wars Celebration is when, Pat?
Starting, I think, maybe this weekend.
So I suspect that we might hear something of a spin-off show coming out of this, because I don't think they're going to wrap up Bo-Katan's story in 2 episodes here. I think that she's done too much progression through the season that they can't just say she's going off into the sunset. I think that we're going to see a lot more of her down the road, which I'm happy about. Like I say, I cannot scream to the highest heavens enough about Katie Sackhoff's performance this entire season, let alone this episode, solidifying that she is the true Mandalorian. Maybe it's going to be a sense that she transitions and the show comes about her. Probably not.
Yeah, I looked it up. Star Wars Celebration is taking place from April 7th through the 10th.
Yeah, I knew it was coming up, so I imagine we're going to hear something more stemming out of this.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
Because, like I say, it would be one hell of a move if they transitioned.
Well, because Mandalorian might take a backseat. I know Favreau said he's still writing stuff and it's not going to end and this isn't going to be the final season. But I wouldn't be surprised if it takes a little bit of a backseat for a while, because we know there's some of the other shows they've announced. I wouldn't be surprised if they announce a Bo-Katan show.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you look at what happened in season 2 with Mandalorian, where they brought Boba Fett back, and he was a bit focal point of season 2, and then after season 2, he got his own show. Bo-Katan, real featured heavily in this season, could get her own spinoff show.
It would make a lot of sense. Like I say, and especially if we want to look at it from the Hollywood aspect.
Right.
Pedro Pascal is a busy man.
Yeah, he is, and he ain't getting any less busy.
Right. So for him to fit time in to do the show, obviously he would.
Right.
But I think they're going to kind of cater to his schedule, and then, you know what? I'm not mad about that.
No, and listen, we know from what Bella Ramsey said about season 2 of The Last of Us, it's either going to start shooting at the end of this year or beginning of next year. So that's going to take up a lot of time, and Lord knows what all else, Pedro Pascal's got going on besides just these 2 franchises.
Yeah, so it's really up in the air. I think we'll get a lot more clarity going into this weekend with Star Wars Celebration as we record.
Yeah.
But that all said, excellent episode. Really loved the ending, and with 2 episodes left, it's wide open where they're going. Pat, final thoughts on the episode?
Fantastic episode. One that I think everyone needs to watch at least twice, because I'm sure there's a lot of Easter eggs in here that I missed watching this morning, especially in the droid bar. I know they like to sneak little Easter eggs and fun stuff like that for the fans in big scenes like that with a lot of characters in there. So definitely give it a watch. Show it to your friends. It's a great episode.
Chapter 22, Guns for Hire, episode 6 of season 3 of The Mandalorian, has really been a excellent one on social media. A lot of people are talking about it, but we need to talk to you about it, ODPH Society. So we gave you our talk. Now we want to hear yours. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPHpod. What is your thoughts about the latest episode of The Mandalorian? Let's discuss, shall we? We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Ooh, I've been dying to try this place.
Oh my god, me too. I've heard such good things about it.
Welcome to the Crime Diner. I'm Cindy. I'll be cooking for you this evening. Here are your menus.
Ooh, what are you thinking about getting?
I don't know, murder with a side of cannibalism? What about you?
Ooh, that sounds good. I'm torn between historical mayhem and the social injustice, maybe?
Oh.
I just want to let you know that each episode comes with dinner, dessert, and a specialty drink chosen by yours truly.
Wine Dine and Storytime has had a makeover, and we invite you to slide into the booth with us at the Crime Diner, where each week we will discuss a crime over dinner, drinks, and dessert. See you there!
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast and ODPH Society. We have a special guest on the line. At this point, why are we even saying guest? We should say a family member is returning to the show, and when he comes through, we got a big book to talk about, because in less than 24 hours, he has already crushed the Kickstarter goal. But don't dismay that from you going to get this book, because you need to have issue number 1 in your life, issue number 2 in your life, and his other series that, if you listen to the ODPH a lot, well, first and foremost, thank you very much. You already know the magic, pun intended, behind everybody's favorite Faustian magician, Pocus Hocus. but we have our friend family back on the line because it is issue 2 time for the horror series you need to have in your collection yesterday, and you better have it by the end of the Kickstarter campaign, which kicked off April 4th. Welcome back to the ODPH from Top Hat Studios, the one and only Alan Dunford. Alan, what is going on,
God.
fam?
Listen, I just want to come on here just for the intro stuff. It's just it's just awesome to hear. You get me hyped up.
Thank you. This is all top of the head too. Pat can attest to. I'm not writing anything down.
No.
I know, which makes it all that much more genuine and better. But guys, I am fantastic. I'm so happy to be back again, and just thank you all again so much for having me and for liking our stupid ideas.
Stupid. Well, you know what? The thing that I think that we always champion you guys a lot, and I get hit up a lot from the ODPH Society about this, is like, you guys are really pumping Top Hat Studios, and I'm like, yeah, because for me as a longtime comic reader, I get excited when creators really go above and beyond to get word out about their books, and they have a certain energy about it. And you guys have always, since day one, have always really been fans first, creators second, if I can use that term. Yeah. And I think it shines through because when you read your books, they're definitely high quality, but they take very simple themes, concepts, and really run in fun directions with them that you're sitting there going like, okay, I really enjoyed this book. And for me personally, like, I've never been a big horror comic reader, which I know is weird because ever since I started this podcast, I think I've grown in that genre to the point people think like I'm going to cons for it and now and such. But it's really a testament to what you guys do from top to bottom at Top Hat, that now seeing the growth and prime example of it is the Kickstarter campaign hit over $3,000 in 24 hours. I mean, how is that, just got to be for you guys? Let's start off with that.
It's awesome just to see the outpouring of support, right? Because whenever you do have certain ideas, you recognize that some of them are hard sells, right? Like Pocus Hocus, I think that's a hard sell because there's so much happening in it, and now we're getting up to issue 6. It's just like, man, it's just one thing after another. Like, how do we keep pitching this thing, especially to someone new? And Grandma Chainsaw is kind of the same way, right? Because there's only so much that we can really talk about it. Because we don't want to give too much away. So on the surface, it's a slasher horror comedy series, but really, you guys have had a chance to read issue 1 already. There's a lot more in it and so many twists and turns, and it just gets absolutely wild. And I know every creator will say that about their work, right? It gets crazy, promise. Stick with it. You'll love it. It's like someone pitching you a television show, and they're like, yeah, just watch it. It gets really good at season 6. Yeah. Right? but we promise.
Yeah, we call that the Agents. We call that the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 1. Okay. Like, just get to the Captain America 2 episode. You'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll be good. So, but like with Grandma Chainsaw 1, it may sound like a stereotypical plot and everything, but we promise there's so much more to that, even with issue 1.
No, absolutely. And I mean, let's backtrack just a little bit. Last time we were talking to you was Pocus Hocus 5, another smash hit out of the park. What has been going on with you guys since then and now?
A lot.
that you can talk about. I don't want to get you in any trouble.
Yeah. So Pocus Hocus 5, we launched that. We're, as of recording this, we're just waiting for the print order to come in now, and we can get that out to everybody's hands, which we are just beyond stoked for, because the book really did turn out beautifully. And it's one of those things where we send out the PDFs. We never really hear a lot back about PDFs, because a lot of people like to wait till they have the physical in their hands, which I get that, right? Because there's, I do understand the digital audience, but there's also something to it just about having a book in your hands, right?
Yeah.
Especially a comic book. But yeah, so we immediately started production back over on Grandma Chainsaw. We did another short story for Roseblood Manor number 2, which was called The Skinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got a chance, and you got a chance. I'm not sure if you had a chance to read it, but I did send it over to you so you can at least check out some of the pages.
It's dope. It's very dope. I try not like spoiling anything when I read it because I don't like I'm always worried like I'm gonna post something because I'm so excited.
It's just 8 pages. I don't know how else to. You know what I mean? How you keep it condensed.
Oh, I know, but it without spoiling anything, like it hits the point right away. Like there's really no like gray area, so to speak.
Yeah, it does what it says on the label.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Like you get what you pay for.
Yeah, so we have that. The script for Grandma Chainsaw 3 is already done. Pocus 6 is being storyboarded. The next campaign after Grandma Chainsaw, I guess we'll talk about that here coming up soon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no.
Right, so we'll save that for another question. We'll save that for a closer.
Yeah, we'll save that for the closing out because obviously this is all about Grandma Chainsaw number 2. The link for this is on odphpodcast.com right on the front page. So just click on the awesome cover image. It's a variant cover. So you definitely want to make sure you go check out all the bells and whistles going on with the campaign, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. Because when you're gearing up for Kickstarter, and especially you guys have had so many successful Kickstarters, was there anything that you're sitting here going, okay, we got a brand new book out, we've been on a roll, is there anything we want to try different or just kind of keep the same formula or going in the process of the Kickstarter campaign? Did you really sit back and go, okay, we like feel any pressure to do something, special, like more so than you normally would?
Yeah, we already have several ideas, in the chamber that are kind of ready to go whenever we actually have time because, we've talked about this before. It hurts and helps in the same breath by whenever you really kind of stick with the same creative team because you guys can only work so fast, right?
Yeah.
And I never want Brian to ever feel pressure or like he has to draw all these books. Like I want him to draw them because I just love working with the guy, and I think he understands our vision.
Yeah.
Right? And so we do have some books coming up, and we're trying to be smart about how we release them too, because whenever we're working on anything, we want people to expect the unexpected. I know that may sound cheesy and cliche and all that stuff.
No, but it's honest.
Yeah. So we have 2 book series that are going to be coming up that we're already kind of brainstorming the ideas for, and that is going to be a more serious noir detective story. And what we're thinking about doing with that one is just making it into a graphic novel because we think it will be a easier sell.
Okay.
And a better way to do it that way. Just, hey, this is a one-shot graphic novel. Enjoy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because sometimes like these kind of stories can get lost in the shuffle because there's going to be a lot more depth to it, but it is going to be a slower burn and a slower pace till we get there because we really want to build the tension that this story is bringing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one kind of falls more in line with what you would expect out the gate. Right. The other book that we're already developing is called Deacon Dan's Famous Chili.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's about a deacon named Dan who has won the church chili cook-off for 13 years in a row. And we get to find out what his secret recipe is.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I can only imagine, and I'm super excited to check that out.
So yeah, Deacon Dan's Famous Chili. We think the title of it's kind of, it's pretty good, right?
It's fun. It's absolutely fun.
So we're having a lot of fun with that one. We think that one's going to be it's going to be nuts. So if you thought Grandma Chainsaw was crazy, which Grandma Chainsaw does get absolutely wild, Deacon Dan is crazy, but on a different part of crazy.
See, that's going to be tough to top because, I mean, Grandma Chainsaw is wild. Like, it is, no lie about it. It is a wild read in the best possible way. But to see that, Deacon Dan's chili, oh, man, God. I can
Deacon Dan's Famous Chili.
I can only imagine that. And you guys have got to be doing some great marketing for that.
That one's probably going to be a tough sell, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing about it, too. I mean, you have such a wide variety of things you can do for Kickstarter, and especially for, relatable merch that,
and
you
of
try.
Course, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, and of course, we are still sticking tried and true with Pocus. That is a series that we really have no intention of stopping on because the subject matter and how the story's structured and the world that we've kind of created, we feel like we're only scratching the surface for what this story can be. And it lends itself better to an ongoing series than some of these other ones, right? Because, again, some of these other stories can overstay their welcome.
Yeah.
We talked before, we don't want a Jason Goes to Manhattan situation on our hands, right? Where we don't know what the hell we're doing with Grandma Hazel when we just keep throwing her in just like weird situations, right? We have a story in mind and we just want to stick to that and tell it and then just hope everyone enjoys it.
And that's the best thing, too. I mean, you kind of have a good sense of the temp in the room. And you always hear about, like, more or less like in pro wrestling talk and more pro sports, I should say, is probably a better analogy. When you see a great athlete stay on too long, it's like you kind of know when it should get wrapped up, like the career should kind of wind down. And it's almost like in the same story, like in how you touch upon too, is like there's a great way that you can do a graphic novel and that's still very, viable, or you can do just ongoing series and kind of play around from that.
Right. Yeah, and like we said, we thought the graphic novel format was the best way to tell this story.
Yeah.
With one Sunday afternoon, but we'll definitely have more of that whenever we're a little bit further along. So yeah, for right now, we're focusing on Pocus and we're focusing on Grandma Chainsaw.
And that's exciting to hear, and especially too with you guys having such a successful Kickstarter. We've talked off air about this a little bit, and just kind of watching the social media temp in the room, if you will. And it seems like the Kickstarter campaigns, you might get the sense that it's a struggle to really have a successful book these days. So let me ask you this. You've been doing this now for a few years. What's your take on the market as it is right now, in your opinion?
Yeah, so being in this for, we'll say, gosh, I think finally we're almost at the 2-year mark now, which crazy, right, to think about it. So we're almost at the 2-year mark, and I think what you're seeing, and obviously I don't have any statistics to back up what I'm saying, but sometimes a gut feeling's a gut feeling.
Right.
I think what you're seeing is the comic book market and the creative market kind of shifting to crowdfunding. And it's good and bad in the same breath, because it's awesome that you're seeing crowdfunding being, I guess, socially acceptable. Because sometimes people can look at crowdfunding like, oh, well, it's a hit or miss market. You may not get what you pay for, all that stuff. And I totally get that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I understand that. But now from where you see bigger names starting their own Kickstarters or doing their own thing on a crowdfunding platform, it's kind of cool to see it being like, hey, guys, like, it's cool to do this. It's fine. Like, these are just people that want to tell their stories in this way, and they think this is the best way to do it. And you get a different experience being, I guess, in the Kickstarter thing, because you get more of a one-on-one experience rather than when you go to a shop to buy a comic book or something like that. So that's awesome. But again, the bad part is then now there's more, right? So there's more for people to choose from. And, money's tight for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. Like,
it's facts. It's facts.
Yeah. Money. Oh gosh, things keep getting more expensive, and I keep getting paid the same.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Amen.
Yeah. So you need to really decide, how do I stand out then, right? And you do see a lot of campaigns and people who I follow. And their campaigns aren't funding as fast as normal. Yeah. Right? And they're great creators, great storytellers. But it's how the market's shifting, and it's just crazy. And Kickstarter is, I think that's the one thing too, where it has so many positives, but it can also be so volatile because you don't know what to expect.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's a roll of the dice no matter what. And especially to be doing an indie book and seeing just how the market has shifted over the past couple of years alone, it's a little intimidating. But I liked how you brought it out, how it's almost become, popular to do Kickstarter. Right. Because, like, we've seen, like, a great example of this is Keanu Reeves' Berserker that he did as a Kickstarter.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I think that got a lot of people's attention. And I know some people are saying, well, he's a movie star, he can just fund his own book. It doesn't go that way. And especially for a project like that, like, sure, he's a huge movie star, but you don't know how that translates to a comic audience. So I think him doing the book on there, I thought was a great thing. The series was fantastic, and obviously, a huge success now as it went to Boom Studios. So to see that now, like in your instance, you really get a true test of like, okay, we've gone through this, and we're seeing that now, like more people are kind of in the same swimming pool as we are. So how do we all stay afloat? And it's just one of those things that you really get by the content that you do and how well you guys market your book out there too. Like I know you are always hitting the podcast circuit. You're always doing interviews, which is awesome. And just how aggressive you go at it, I think has been such a key to your success.
Yeah, I think, and it's weird because it's a lot, but it's also what I'm passionate about, right? And it's one of those things too where I just talking to you guys and just whoever, it's kind of cool because you really get a chance to express yourself. And again, this is why crowdfunding is such a unique beast, is because a lot of times you get to know about the creator before you even buy the book.
Yeah.
And it's cool to kind of see that. And then I guess it's also you could take it personal too.
Yeah, I mean
they don't like you. Yeah, and they don't back your book then.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's always a tough thing because what you try doing is, I think every creator, I think that's probably a very honest statement here. Every creator that puts out a book tries putting out the best product they can. And it just
definitely.
And it just depends on how it catches the audience and just timing and where things are in the world. And it's just everybody has a different story they go through about it. So to see that you guys have gone through this journey for 2 years now plus, and still showing that success, but still sounding as hungry as ever. I mean, I think it's something that a lot of fans can relate to, because when you hit a certain level of success, and especially indie book or major book, it doesn't really matter. You sometimes wonder as a fan, do they still want it as badly as they did the first time? And when you start hearing creators still hitting the pavement, getting the word out, getting very aggressive on social and, trying the different platforms to get out, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, what have you, just having that vibe of just saying hey, it's a fan thing first because you're fans of your own product. I think that goes such a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, right? I hate to say it this way, but it's true. You're only as good as your last work, right? And especially from where you're trying to gain notoriety, you're trying to gain popularity, you're trying to, you're just trying.
Yeah.
You really you have to always improve and prove yourself. And we hope that we've done that going forward because, again, everyone on the team, we are our own worst critics. And it's healthy to a degree because we're always trying to push ourselves then.
Yeah, well, you don't want to say stagnant. I mean, that's the one thing, because when you get to a certain level, you almost think okay, well, we'll clear the campaign in a day, and you never want to get in that situation because you just don't know what the market's going to be then. Because times change so much, and everybody has different economic factors that go in throughout the year. So to really hit the book and really nail it, I mean, that's just something to be attested to. And then especially when you're coming off, like I say, and it might sound like a broken record about it, but when it's fans first, creator second, that goes such a long way because it's very relatable to comic buyers to say hey,
you could tell on the pages too.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I think that's something that shines through. I mean, I remember reading Pocus 1 the first time, and that was the vibe I got. And now we're 5 issues later there. Well, technically 7 with Grandma Chainsaw 2. That vibe has not gone away. And that's a great thing. That's a great thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm really, really glad to hear that.
No, I mean, seriously, I think that there's just something, because I always show your issues to fans that want to see them, around here locally. And I always tell people, hey, if you can find it at your local comic shops or wherever you can find it online, this is where you need to do it. Because, like I say, you never know where the book's going to pop up. This is one thing, when it goes to the live open for Kickstarter, it just kind of travels.
Right.
So
100%.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of getting eyes on the product, and then word of mouth is something that travels too. So that's a big thing, and that kind of leads me to my next question. We are getting into officially con season. C2E2 is just this past weekend. We had WonderCon. I know that Star Wars Celebration's coming up, but that's a whole different ball of wax. But do you think with con seasons coming up, is there any plans to really kind of take the marketing to that level?
Yeah, definitely. So we're starting small because I don't know what to expect, and I've seen stuff from like C2E2 or MegaCon and stuff like that, right? Like, it looks overwhelming, especially like even just walking through it seems overwhelming. So I couldn't imagine running a booth, right? So we're going to be going to Lord, I think it's in August, and it's Collectors Con in Ohio. So
Okay.
we'll be there. I'll know the dates and times a little closer to time and everything. I think it's the first time they've ran it, which is going to be kind of cool to see. So yeah, we're just kind of like, again, we're going to start. I say this now, we're starting small, but watch this thing be like massive. I have no idea what's about to happen to me. But yeah, so that's going to be the first con that we're doing. Yeah, man, I'm just really excited.
Oh, absolutely, dude. I'm so happy for you guys because I can't wait for the public to stop by. And that's one thing too that I noticed from going to New York Comic Con as much as I do. We always try, like me and Pat and Rich from 3FN, we always try swinging by a table that nobody really knows and just kind of just chatting up and kind of getting the vibe of a creator. And that's led us to some really great independent books that we picked up, and to see then the growth of some of those writers and artists now that, you know, are doing a lot bigger things. It goes to show just like how important cons are, in the sense that you really have that connection, much like Kickstarter, that one-on-one experience. And it's you know, it's a level of anxiety, but a level of excitement too, that trying to put into words, I think, is just tough. But for you guys going there, that's going to be like, I think the next level for you is just now people are putting your faces to the product.
Right. And again, I'm excited because, you know, there's always that little hope too that we're doing it and someone shows up that actually knows us.
Yeah.
Right? Or someone that made a special trip just because they live relatively close. Right. So that's kind of a cool thing to be hopeful for. But if not, hey, listen, my ego is checked already. Mm-hmm. Right. So it will just be cool if it happens, but I'm not expecting it to.
Hey, I will say this. Unbiasedly, because I mean, we don't reveal our numbers on the shows here, but with the amount of views and downloads between the blogs and the podcast episodes you swing through, I have a very good feeling that you're going to have at least one person stop by and go, "Oh, I know you guys." You know,
I'm like, "Oh, hey, cool."
Yeah, Top Hat. Yeah.
Yeah,
you know, like,
it's us.
Yeah, it'll be, you know, something like that. You know, I can say that. I'll say that's a safe bet. I'm not going to say it's a lock, but I'll say it's a safe, because it just depends on how big the con is. You know, but like if you went to a bigger one like New York or something, I guarantee you somebody would be like, "Pocus Hocus."
Yeah, that'd be great.
Oh, that'd be just amazing hearing somebody yell that across the Javits. They'd be like, "Yeah, I know that book."
That's us.
I mean, but it just goes back to being the fans first. And I mean, that's the big takeaway that I think that anybody listening to this is going to hear, because you're going to have people that are going to get excited about this. And, you know, looking back, like, what do you think has been the biggest win and the biggest learning experience from doing this project?
The biggest win has obviously been all the the friends we've made along the way, right? The biggest win has been just getting to meet all these people and just learning so much. And I guess like they both tie into each other, right? Because the biggest learning experience too has been what can we do better, and are we happy with this product? And looking back on it, what can we do differently, or did we market this correctly? Did we do everything as we needed to? Did we really highlight something that needed to be done? So it's kind of cool to always be looking back and be objective, right? You know, I feel like if we go back and look at this thing and think, no, we did everything perfectly, we're wrong. I mean, every campaign has its faults. Yeah. There could always be something different that we've done, but really the win outshines that because of all just the great people that we've made, and even just people messaging us and saying, I can't wait for this issue. That just means, as simple as that message is, it's so much more to us than that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That has to be the most gratifying thing, when you have somebody just reach out and say, like, I'm super excited to see what you guys have coming. And that just is indescribable. Like, just because it's the biggest, in my opinion, it's not monetary, and money is great and all, but just to get that affirmation that you're doing the right thing because you've connected with somebody on this level, that you're giving them a product that is giving them enjoyment to that level, like they want to go say something to you. And like for me, I always kind of say that's why I always go get like autographs at Comic-Cons, because that's the biggest way I can say thank you to somebody for the excitement they gave me. Like, getting autographs is not something for like, putting on eBay and selling. It's just my way is like standing in line, just telling that writer or that artist, thank you. And just having that moment. And, like I say, it's an indescribable feeling. And especially like if you're on that other side of the conversation, that's just got to be so mind blowing.
Yeah. 100%, man. 100%.
Yeah. So in closing, is it safe to say the summer that is coming up, is it the summer of Scare for Top Hat Studios?
I think it's every. I think every season's the summer of scaring, right? Just because I never like to consider ourselves to be, horror writers, but it seems like that's kind of like
it's kind of the vibe a little bit.
Yeah, it's what we're leading to. Pocus has horror elements to it and everything.
Yeah.
But we always try to be fun and unique with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so coming up next for us, if we ended up diving straight into Grandma Chainsaw 3, the next campaign that you can look out for is the fully fleshed out Horus in Hell series.
Ooh. Okay.
So Kit Wallace has been hard at work on that. He just gave us his finished new cover for it, and it's probably one of my favorite pieces that he's done.
I love Kit's work. Like,
yeah, dude.
I make sure I buy at least a variant and more every time I see it comes in a campaign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%, man. And Kit has just been such a pleasure to work with, and he's been just so incredible on every facet, right? So it's going to give also Brian a good little break, so he can go ahead and then start on the next Grandma Chainsaw or Pocus 6. And Ken, I don't know if you have your phone on you, but I just texted you the cover that Kit drew.
I do, actually. So I will take a quick peek here because we do everything live here. Holy shit! This is awesome. This is gonna be a lot of fun. Oh my god, this is such a dope cover.
Yeah, I can't wait to reveal it. So we're holding that one pretty close to us until probably till the end of the Grandma Chainsaw campaign.
Oh my god, this is so good.
But yeah, so we'll have that cover. Brian Belando is going to be doing a variant cover. And we have a couple other guys doing some variants for us too. So we're just gonna have fun with this one, just because it's Kit Wallace, so it's gonna be wild and crazy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I can't wait for people to see that cover. I can't wait for people to see this book. Alan, final thoughts, final selling point on why somebody listening to this episode right now, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's in podcast form, or it's just somebody sneaking by the ODPH studio, should immediately go to odphpodcast.com, click the link, and get Grandma Chainsaw number 2.
Because you like the idea of the book. I don't know. Because it's a very fun read. It's one of those that does not take itself too seriously, and if you want just some good old fashioned grandma slashing. Right, just look no further. You got this, and then again, we throw a couple twists and turns in there, and you get a chance to meet the Dead Squad, which has been
my god, yeah,
which has been received overwhelmingly positive.
I saw they already got merch.
Yeah, so the Dead Squad has been received a lot better than what we thought they were gonna be. Because it was one of those. Whenever we ended the book, we were like, "Oh, was this like too much left field?"
Yeah,
right. But people have really loved them and can't wait to see their fate. So
I tell you what, if they have not picked up Grandma Chainsaw number 1, they definitely need to get it for the Dead Squad alone, but let alone the story at hand. And then trust me when I say this, ODPH Society, you want to make sure you pick up Grandma Chainsaw number 2. It is a wild horror story that is just starting to pick up some speed, and you are not ready for what is coming with this book. And the Kickstarter campaign is live right now as we record April 4th. So make sure to swing on over to odphpodcast.com. The link is right there on the front page. It always goes there because we have that much faith in the book, because the stuff that Top Hat Studios is doing is top shelf. No pun intended. Alan,
I like that.
thank you as always for coming on the show. We can't wait to have you back on, brother.
Yeah, thank you guys, and I'll be back probably in about a month and a half.
All right, well, we're already booking that appearance. I know the ODPH Society is excited to hear from you come back. And like we said, the liner notes will have the direct link into this, so there's no excuse for you not to immediately go sign up for this campaign, sign up for this book, hit up Alan on Twitter, and let him know what you think of this, because it's absolutely going to be something to check out. The Summer of Scare is in full effect with Grandma Chainsaw number 2. That being said, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
This is Tom from Tom Joe Lou,
This is Matt from Sideroom Sounds.
and you're listening to ODPH Podcast.
Wanna go where no one knows my name, to the desert, the oceans, or the plains. 'Cause I wanna...
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. And before we get into one-shots, we do have to do a quick review of the CW's Superman and Lois, one of our favorite shows. And we're doing a quick review because, honestly, in our opinions, there wasn't a lot to this episode.
It was a good episode, but just in terms of like story building and continuing the story, kind of like stayed in place a little bit.
Yeah, they didn't really do anything to really put the wow factor on for like an entire segment.
Right.
And not to say it was a bad episode by any means, but we figured, okay, let's do a quick recap for everybody, because we do know there's a big portion of the ODPH Society that tunes in to hear us talk about Superman and Lois, with Tyler Hoechlin playing the role of Clark Kent, Elizabeth Tolick playing Lois Lane, Alex Scarfin playing Jordan Kent, Michael Bishop playing Jonathan Kent, and the family from Metropolis can't escape their past, even in the new city of Smallville, which is Clark Kent's hometown. Trouble seems to find them, and this season it all centers around Intergang, and Bruno Mannheim played by Chad L. Coleman. So this episode, entitled Too Close to Home, spoiler-free statement time, really didn't move the needle so much, but like we touched upon, it kept everything in place. It didn't really put the wow factor in for me. I don't know about you, Pad.
Yeah, no, like it was a good episode, and there were some good moments. I mean, certainly the scene in the diner towards the end of the episode was fucking wild, you know. And there were some good story points and some good writing, you know, in terms of like the writers writing for the episode. But just in terms of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened to that person, and I can't believe that person got caught. Like, no, none of that really happened.
No. It was kind of like a weird throwing, you know, stuff at the wall and hoping what sticks. Like, that was the kind of vibe I had with it. But like I say, I know it sounds very negative, but with this setup that they're doing for the season, they have a lot of moving parts going on. They're focusing a lot on Lois's battle with cancer. They're focusing on Intergang and what they're doing. And now with the big reveal that they had last episode, everything is now starting to come into place a little bit. And there wasn't anything that was like a super wow, but it was enough that we definitely want to talk about it. So that being said, 3, 2, 1, Pad, what did you really think?
It was a good episode. You know, it wasn't the best episode, but it didn't feel like filler.
No, it definitely didn't feel like filler, but it just seemed like they were trying to focus a lot on, obviously, Lois's battle with cancer and how she was trying to recover, you know, dealing with, you know, her first time with chemo.
Right.
And obviously Clark is trying to be a very supportive husband and being very critical on the two sons. And a little overbearing on his part, too, I think. It's
yeah.
probably a fair statement.
Yeah.
To the point where Jordan tries breaking away to help him put out a forest fire. And Jordan has not learned the value of wearing a mask.
Nope.
Or secret identities, because his grandfather, General Sam Lane, played by the one and only Dylan Walsh, basically sees him involved and saying, listen, you got to get your hair cut.
Yeah.
Because Jordan has a very noticeable head of hair.
Yeah, and he kind of got spotted on some satellite photos.
Yeah, so he's now being trained in the ways of being a superhero, but by General Lane. So that's going to be a little point I think they're going to do moving forward more so.
Mm-hmm.
Though Jonathan Kent's storyline with his girlfriend Candace and the dad that just won't go away, Emmett, is picking up more steam, but it is getting a little more crazy because Emmett does not like Jonathan Kent, and being around his daughter is not doing anything well. Emmett actually winds up punching Jonathan Kent when he accuses him of stealing his truck, which, I mean, let's face it, he did. I don't think there's any way around that.
No lies were spoken.
And then what happens when Lois confronts Emmett?
He pulls a gun on her.
Yeah. Mistake number one.
Yeah.
So that situation gets very, very crazy. And then later, Clark decides to confront Emmett.
Yeah, because he finds out what happened and how he pulled a gun got pulled out on Lois, and Lois says, "Oh, Superman or Clark, you can't send Superman after him." And Clark says, "Superman's not the one going after him."
Yeah. So very intense scene, but obviously, if you're going to mess with Lois Lane, you got to deal with Superman. And Emmett now learned a hard way because he's taken off.
Yeah.
Which is the smartest move for him. How long he'll stay away is anybody's guess.
Mm-hmm.
But as we alluded to in the intro for this, Bruno Mannheim is definitely lurking around here, and now he has pulled his attention to one John Henry Irons, played by Wooly Parks.
Mm-hmm.
And we do know that on this Earth, because, well, we do deal with a little bit of time travel, alternate reality, so to speak, the John Henry Irons of this Earth has been killed by Bruno Mannheim.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine his surprise seeing that John Henry Irons from another planet is now living on this planet.
Yeah.
And apparently it had something to do with Intergang.
Yeah, did some dealings with him. Bruno Mannheim not thrilled to see him.
Yeah. So Mannheim does not exactly handle this well.
No.
And things get very, very messy because when he is confronted by Bruno Mannheim, Mannheim does not exactly, how do we put this?
Take it well,
because he does have a connection to John Henry's sister, Dr. Darlene Irons, played by Angel Park. And what does Mannheim do, Pat? Straps a bomb.
Yeah, I would say straps a bomb.
Yeah, which is an absolutely insane scene. But John does make the save, but he definitely has it well staked that this is not the end between them. It's going to get more messy as they go.
Mm-hmm.
And things will only get worse because of obviously what was revealed last episode is the blood that Mannheim is using to be Dr. Frankenstein and mess around is Superman's.
Yes.
And now Sam Lane has found, well, Intergang is now using that with DOD stuff. And, you really got to fix this problem in a big hurry, which Superman thinks he does. But let's face it, Bruno Mannheim is still one step ahead. We have a lot of ways to go.
Yes, we do.
And pretty much that's kind of wraps up the big points of the episode, except when Lois goes to the hospital in Hobbs Bay for her chemo treatment. She doesn't realize that area is actually ran by one Bruno Mannheim, which is going to play a bigger factor as this season progresses. But a lot of just moving the story forward. I mean, we didn't really get into the whole Kyle, Lana, Sarah mess that is going on.
It was kind of more of the same.
Yeah, so I mean, it didn't really progress a lot forward, but like I said, there's enough snippets in this episode. It kept the audience entertained. But
I didn't hate it.
Yeah, like I say, if we have to rank it, I mean, it's average.
Yeah.
But like I say, it's not bad considering the quality of the show.
Right.
But it's nothing to really write home about. So, I mean, that's the one thing about this episode. But as always, we always say hit us up on that hashtag and let us know what you thought about episode 4 of season 3 of Superman and Lois. We gave you our takes, now we want to hear yours. But before we get on out of here, it's one-shot time. So, Pad, what you got?
Well, I think we got to talk about some of the trailers that came out within the last, fucking 24 hours.
Yeah.
Let's drop everything at the exact same time.
Crazy.
You had the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse trailer, which looked awesome.
It looked amazing.
Coming out June 2nd.
Definitely going to be first day in line watching this. It captured the magic from the original. And, man, I can't wait to see where they go. Earth 19,099.
Yeah.
999.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nines involved.
Yeah, there is.
Because we're dealing with the Spider-Verse. We're dealing with a lot of Spider-Men that we've seen in the comics and some variations. And the Spot is going to be the big villain.
Yes.
I don't know how that's going to play out.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
It's going to be amazing. Like I say, the fact that we have Spider-Man 2099 appearing to be the big villain going after Miles Morales.
Yeah. Well, that's how it appears. Woe be it for Marvel to not pull the wool over our eyes with a trailer.
Exactly. That's what I say. So very excited about that, but that wasn't Marvel's only entry this week.
No, they also had the Secret Invasion trailer drop, which is coming to Disney Plus on June 21st.
Yeah, this looked excellent. I know the still poster they have out right now.
Still posters with Nick Fury and like some shredded up documents, but amongst those shredded up documents, you can see a Skrull face.
Yeah. So a lot of excitement to be had around this. We don't know what direction it's going to go in, and I like how they're keeping everybody guessing.
Yeah.
Because if it was just too predictable, I mean, I don't know if it would have the same kind of vibe, to be honest with you.
Right.
So I am excited to see where we go. We did hear Emilia Clarke did get announced, like her character got revealed, which I got to admit, I'm not happy about hearing.
Right. Well, I know she posted some behind the scenes photos on her Instagram today. Gaia, I think is how you say it.
Yeah.
G''IAH.
Yeah, and it's Talos' daughter.
Okay.
So, like, that was the thing. I was hoping they didn't reveal.
Right.
And it's the one thing, I mean, Marvel has been pretty good about not revealing a lot.
Right.
But, yeah, this one I was kind of like, did we really have to go there?
Right.
So, either way, I mean, obviously we're going to be covering it on the show when it comes up.
Yeah.
Super excited to see what that's about.
Yeah.
And then we did get a trailer from DC.
Yeah. Blue Beetle.
Yes. Looked amazing. Yolo Moderino. I apologize for butchering the name. You know him from Cobra Kai on Netflix. So he'll be playing the role of Jaime Reyes. And the trailer looked awesome. Like I say, if you're not familiar with the character, I thought they did a great intro without giving too much away.
Right.
Because, I mean, this is not the Ted Kord, which some people might know from the Justice League International run and back in, like, the 80s time period.
Mm-hmm.
So I do love that, Jaime Reyes is going to be the lead role here. We do know Susan Sarandon is going to be playing Victoria Kord.
Nice.
And George Lopez is playing Uncle Rudy Reyes.
Oh, okay.
So, like I say, they have some very, very cool actors a part of this show, or this movie, rather.
Movie, yeah.
And, like I say, the CGI, it looked good. The only thing that kind of threw me a little bit, I'm not a fan of, like, the font they used for the logo. It just had this weird 80s vibe.
No, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
But I love the trailer. Like, I thought Yolo is absolutely going to crush this role. And like I say, if you've seen him on Cobra Kai, you know he's an awesome actor. So to see where they go with this movie, I'm telling you what, this could be the sleeper film of the year.
It could be.
In all honesty, it looked fun. It looked nothing like the Snyderverse. More so like Aquaman.
Yeah, movie dropping on August 18th in theaters. Thought it looked familiar. You know why that font looks really familiar? It's the Purple Rain font.
Oh, get out!
It's because I'm like, that looks really familiar. Yeah, and
get the hell out of here.
Once you said 80s, yeah, no, I'm looking at the cover of Purple Rain. It's the Purple Rain font. That's what it is. Yeah. Because those B, like, you look at the B in Blue Beetle.
Yeah. Drop
the bottom part of the B and just look at it as a P.
Yeah.
And I'm showing Ken, the P from Purple Rain. That's what they did. They borrowed the font from Purple Rain.
Pat is the plug for the reason, folks. He gets he has all these information. But you're right. That absolutely, because it just had this weird 80s vibe, and I'm like,
I'm looking at the poster for the first time, and I'm like, that font looks really familiar. And then you said 80s. I'm like, hold on, it's clicking.
Yeah. But I love how they show the suit, and then they show a little bit of the powers, what he's doing, and like I say, this is going to be a surprise hit, I think, for anybody that's worried about, like, the next phase of DC. And obviously we know there's pre-James Gunn, post-James Gunn. I don't think it's going to matter with this one. I think that you're going to see Blue Beetle stick around.
Yes.
He's a very popular character in the comics, so I wouldn't doubt that, this will be the start of something special. And like I say, the trailer looked amazing. Like I say, it looked super fun. They captured the power. CGI looked good, in my opinion. So a lot of win to be going on with this movie. So definitely making sure I have my tickets ready when it comes out.
Yes.
On August 18th, I believe.
Yeah, August 18th, yeah.
So definitely super excited for that. Pad?
Just got some comic picks to pick out for the week. Only a few. One from DC, that is Adventures of Superman, John Kent, written by Tom Taylor.
Oh, so good.
I don't want to spoil anything about this. I've read it. Holy fuck. What the shit. Goddamn. Enough said.
Say what you mean, bro.
Yeah. And then from the Marvel side of things, you got Amazing Spider-Man issue number 23. Got that one coming out this week. You've also got Star Wars Hidden Empire issue number 5. This is the last issue in the little mini-series they've been doing with Darth Vader, Kira from Han Solo, who was played by Emilia Clarke, and then also the Emperor. This has been phenomenal to read and absolutely amazing. And last, certainly not least, Star Wars issue number 33, written by Charles Soule. It's got a pissed off looking Luke and staring at Darth Vader holding his lightsaber. Need I say any more? Nope.
No, you don't. I mean, that cover looks amazing. For me, staying on the Marvel side of things, It's a great 2-shot for me because I'm a super big Stephanie Phillips fan. Definitely have to reach out and see if she wants to talk some Grimm on the show. Stay tuned for that. Because Grimm by Boom Studios, I will rave about that book series all the time. So putting the karma out there, we are able to hook that up. But she has 2 great books out from Marvel, Rogue and Gambit #2 and Cosmic Ghost Rider #2. Both books, solid #1 issues. Really loved Rogue and Gambit.
Okay.
If I have to choose one or the other. But Cosmic Ghost Rider, see, I mean, obviously if you know anything about the character, it's not your average Ghost Rider.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that I liked that she brought out in him. And I thought the artwork on both books was great. So like I recommend both those from Marvel. And then going to the Parlay Points blog section, Comixology Originals really had 2 great books drop this week. Grammaton Punch #2. So this story is about the young boy that can see ghosts because he's born during a solar eclipse.
Right.
Book is absolutely phenomenal. Like I say, it's fun. It's energetic. Miles Gunter, Brian Andan, and the team absolutely crushed this. So if you like the first issue, I was a big fan of it. It was a surprise for me. Kept the same vibe. Took the story in a couple different places though.
Okay.
So I wasn't expecting, and the final act is a curveball. So I was not expecting where we're going with this, but I was like, okay. And we'll see how this plays out because we do know it's a limited series. So they're moving things right along. And I am very, very intrigued to see where we're heading after this issue. So super excited about that. Also, Comixology Originals and coming to print via Dark Horse Comics sooner than later is the news I am, if I caught online correctly, I'm hearing. Barnstormers #5. Scott Snyder, Tula Lote. Okay. Phenomenal series. Love this series. The story, The Ballad of Love and Murder, set in the World War I era, really caught my attention. Wow, I don't mean to yell in the mic, but I'm super excited to talk about this book. And it had breathtaking artwork. I say that all the time because Lote's art just, I left me speechless because of how amazing it is. And the story that Scott Snyder is weaving through here about a World War II pilot who's now turned into an aerial showman who makes the very, very bad mistake about crashing into a wedding that he had no part of accidentally, but his life is now turned upside down by running into Tilly, and she leaves her fiance at the altar, and the Bonnie and Clyde Robin Hood-esque life they live after this, it really never it never escaped my pull list digitally. It has always been a book that it surprised me each issue that came out. And just the story of this, because I was kind of skeptical because I'm not too big into historical movies, time period, so to speak. But this one really got me. And like I say, they don't focus a lot on the World War I era, but it's just set in a different time period. The vibe is different, but it has a whole energy on its own. And like I say, I love the story that was going on with Bix and Tilly. And it built up to a fever pitch last issue. The conclusion doesn't let you down at all. And it really goes to show how far you would go to capture a dream or let it slip.
Right.
It is just a phenomenal read. One of Scott Snyder's best books. And you know me, I read a lot of his stuff. Really enjoyed this issue. Really can't wait to pick it up in print form, like I say, because I do like going to get these books when they get released in print via Dark Horse Comics. And if I read correctly, this is coming out sooner than later. So super excited to pick this up when it drops. And I highly recommend, if you haven't picked it up yet on Comixology Originals, go get it and go get the print series that comes out. Clear is now coming out on print. So that is my favorite of Scott Snyder's run of all 7, I believe 7 books he's done thus far on the Best Jacket Press line. I love that book, and that's now on print. So definitely a lot of reason to go to the comic shop and still go to Comixology Originals to go pick these books up. And then last on my list for this week, keeping it Massiveverse and the fun story that's going on in Radiant Pink #4. Megan Carmarina, Melissa Flores, Emma Kubert. The youngest Radiant is still doing a lot of world traveling with her mysterious companion. And this series is just fun. That's the thing. It's not to be taken over seriously. Pad, there is a huge, giant cat spaceship. That's the kind of vibe that happens here.
Okay.
But it makes sense to the story. So like I say, it's not your like I say, it's not an average story by any means. It's an enjoyable one. It's fun. It's energetic. I'm not sure where they're going with the final issue because it did take a big curve in the third act of this issue. So super excited to see how it plays out. And like I say, it's Massiverse. I will be picking up. And like I say, this has just been a very, very enjoyable series. So definitely, keep an eye out for it when you go hit the comic shops. And as we always say to close out this edition of the ODPH, make sure to go out and support your local comic shops wherever you are and support your favorite local independent comic podcasts. We're putting a lot of work in to give you the books that you need to know about each and every week. That being said, for anything and everything that is the ODPH, you can find it at odphpodcast.com. That's it for this week. So for the one and only Padawan J.
I just want to point out the creator of Mario, Shigeru Miyamoto, says we shouldn't trust Dr. Mario. That's a wild statement in 2023, folks.
Facts. Absolutely facts. My name is Ken. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. See you next time.
Gotta be down to the punch. Gotta be down to the punch. 'Cause they can't